What's up everybody, Matt Maran here for another weekly update. So there's lots of exciting news to go over here this week, but before I get into the news, I first want to mention I'll be doing my usual weekly live stream at 9 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday night. Join if you can, it's always a good time. But getting into the news here, first, Toyota has revealed a surprising refresh for the GR Corolla that I wasn't expecting. We were expecting this new automatic, but didn't expect to see all these other changes. So as you can see, it now gets a new front end there, and it also gets the GR 8-speed torque converter automatic transmission that debuted in the GR Yaris not too long ago. And we also get that GR Yaris's enhanced version of the 1.6 liter Turbo 3 that still does 300 horsepower but bumps torque from 273 pound-feet to 295 pound-feet of torque. The manual transmission is still an option, thankfully, so no worries there. That automatic also gets a transmission fluid cooler, and there's an option for a sub-radiator now on Premium and Premium Plus trims. Other mechanical changes for 2025 are that there's now rebound springs in the front and rear suspension to minimize inner wheel lift during dynamic driving, and they say the rear coils and stabilizers were also improved to help boost ground contact response and controllability. They've also raised the trailing arm mounting point to reduce rear squat during acceleration and improve stability. But that change worries me a little bit just because I like the drama, and I'm worried that if there's less squat, that obviously it'll be a more composed track car, but it just takes away a little bit of the fun character of the GR Corolla. I will be more than happy to try that out for myself and report back for you guys. But I'm hoping that that didn't lose too much drama in the switch here. But anyway, also you can see there that visually, again, that bumper has been opened up. That's to improve cooling, by the way, and accommodate these extra new coolers. Inside, Toyota says it also gets a new dark sporty vibe thanks to new trim finishes on the flat surfaces and switches. I can't really tell a difference myself, but hopefully it'll be more apparent whenever you sit down in these things. But lastly, there's changes to the packaging here. So first, all GR Corollas now get the front and rear LSDs as standard, so there's no more performance package like you used to have, but otherwise the core trim is the same. The Premium also adds the same things it did for 2024, so no changes there, but the Circuit Edition is no more for 2025. And the blue flame color sadly goes away as well, being relegated to a 2024 only color, at least for now. The other four colors, though, do continue, so that means you have the usual assortment of white, black, gray, and red. And there's also now a new Premium Plus trim, which comes in to replace that Circuit Edition, and basically gives you all the same stuff, other than seemingly getting rid of the big rear spoiler, sadly. So there's no way to get that spoiler at all anymore, but it does add that new sub-radiator as standard in that Premium Plus trim. And so they'll begin arriving at dealers this winter, but there's no pricing for those yet. But I would assume, pricing should stay pretty similar, just, factor in the performance package upcharge for a core, so the base price will rise as a result of that. But otherwise, pricing should stay fairly similar, I'm guessing. But anyway, interesting to see that, and a nice little surprise as well. But I'm excited to try out that 8-speed automatic. And also that allows more and more people to now enjoy the GR Corolla that, couldn't live with the manual before. Also, Ford has debuted the 2025 Maverick refresh this week and introduced a new version called the Lobo that reintroduces the sport truck market and sport compact trucks as well, which is kind of a forgotten segment. This is kind of exciting. But first, getting into the regular 2025 Maverick here, the biggest news is that you can now get the hybrid version with all-wheel drive finally. And those hybrid all-wheel drive versions can also now tow 4,000 pounds, which matches the punchier turbo version and doubles the tow rating of the front-wheel drive hybrid version. Adding all-wheel drive also requires swapping the Torsen beam rear suspension for the multi-link independent suspension from the turbo all-wheel drive version. You still keep the hybrid CVT though. The 8-speed auto is still only for that turbo version. Speaking of the turbo version, it's now all-wheel drive only, and every outlet says power is unchanged at 238 pound-feet or 238 horsepower, but horsepower used to always be 250, so I'm not sure if there's a difference in the way they're measuring horsepower now that the 12 horsepower loss isn't a change. But on paper, there needs to be an explanation as far as why it's lost 12 horsepower and everyone's saying it's the same. But regardless, torque is actually unchanged, still saying 277 pound-feet there. And the Tremor version also continues on unchanged as well. And as you can see, the styling has changed with the bumper invading the space there where the headlights used to reside, and the grills are new too. Inside, there's now a standard 13.2-inch touchscreen that fills in the odd gap there where the old Maverick screen had that little cubby next to it. And if you get the Lariat or the Tremor, you can now also get the Pro Trailer Hitch Assist and Backup Assist to make trailering easier. Unfortunately, pricing has gone up, and each year it gets further from that very affordable truck that debuted a couple of years ago, but it's still pretty cheap, starting at $27,890, including destination, which is $1,680 more than last year. They continue to be hot sellers, though, so I don't think pricing is going to really hurt them, even if it is, a little bit more expensive. And so if you'd like to get in line for one of these 2025 Mavericks, ordering opened yesterday, actually, and they'll begin arriving later this year. But now moving on to that Lobo edition here. So as you can see, it's sportier, but unfortunately it doesn't get any extra power, but it might still be a little bit faster, and I'll explain in a second. But it's only available with the 2-liter EcoBoost turbo 4-cylinder engine. It does get some other nice improvements though to the performance here. So first, it gets the 7-speed automatic from the Edge ST instead of the 8-speed that other Mavericks get, and that one less shift, because it only does a 1-2 shift to get to 60, should make it a little bit quicker for a 0 to 60 compared to a regular Maverick, which will do a 1-2-3 shift to get up to 60. So, yeah, I might have a slightly faster 0 to 60 time, but that's about it. I'm sure gearing actually might be a little bit taller with the 7-speed, I don't know. But there's also a suspension that's half an inch lower in the front and 1.12 inches lower in the rear, and it's all retuned to be sportier as well. There's bigger brakes from the European Focus ST, so they haven't forgotten that they still offer the Focus ST elsewhere in the world. So we get the brakes from that vehicle, and also a quicker steering ratio from the Kuga, which is the same as our Escape here in the States. So I guess in Europe they tune the Escape to have quicker steering, and so we get that steering rack here. Interesting little tidbit. But anyway, you also get the twin clutch rear diff from the Bronco Sport that enables torque vectoring. And lastly, there's the upgraded radiator from the towing package and an oil cooler, plus a Lobo mode that minimizes your stability control and ramps up the torque vectoring. As for the visual changes here, you can see the sportier bumpers, grille, and wheels. And inside you get a cool combo of this interesting textured black upholstery with what they call grabber blue and electric lime stitching. And there's also some debossing there on the back of the seat, and there's also paddle shifters on the wheel now. And there's going to be 2 trims for the Lobo. There's a standard and a high trim, and that one, for that high one, will give you a heated steering wheel and seats, adaptive cruise, which Ford is still charging extra for here these days, which is kind of crazy, plus a 360 camera and a sunroof. They'll start at $36,595, including destination, with that high trim going up to $42,090. Ordering is already open for those ones as well, but deliveries of those won't start until early 2025, they say, so coming a little bit after the regular Mavericks. But yeah, I'm just really happy to see someone try a sport truck again. I really hope that it sells well and, pays off for them, and that they continue to do Lobo versions of other Ford trucks. That would be great if they don't want to call them, something else. But yeah, pretty exciting to see that. I'm excited to test that out, and just fun to see. They had pictures of it going around autocross courses and slaloms and stuff, and seeing a little sport truck doing that, it's just kind of fun to see. Another American vehicle that's getting sportier here is the 2025 Cadillac CT5V Blackwing with its new precision package. So the package adds stiffer springs, a bigger front stabilizer bar, revised suspension bushings, new steering knuckles, rear suspension toe links, and retunes for the MagnaRide dampers, steering, chassis controls, and ELSD. And so Cadillac's chief engineer said, "We built this vehicle to set records on some of the toughest tracks around the world and reward the most discerning driving enthusiast." So I guess we'll have to wait and see, what lap records they set, and I'm sure that's going to be their, project here for this summer and fall, I'm guessing. And so there's no pricing for the package yet, but don't expect it to be a bargain, because it does require the $9,000 carbon ceramic brake package. So, just with the brakes and a regular CT5V Blackwing, you're looking at 107 or so. So, probably call it 110 or something at least. And yeah, so production is going to be starting here in early 2025 for those. So great to see that. Audi has also revealed the production version of the A6 Sportback E-Tron and S6 version as well. And yes, there's also an even cooler looking wagon version, the Avant here, that sadly won't come to the US, but I still think it's a pretty cool look here even for the Sportbacks. And inside inside, it seems to be basically a copy and paste job from the new A5 we just saw 2 weeks ago. I still don't love the lack of cohesiveness with the way that passenger display is integrated there, but it should be nice otherwise with a 14.5-inch touchscreen, 11.9-inch gauge cluster, and as the name suggests, it does gain the Sportback practicality of the big rear hatch, which is surprising to see on the A6, but that certainly lessens some of the disappointment of not getting that Avant version because, at least we do have extra practicality over a regular sedan. So I guess Audi's it seems like they're just trying to, maximize the appeal of these sedans by not making a traditional sedan with a trunk lid anymore. It seems like they're going to Sportback for everything. I'm not complaining, but it's just an interesting change there. And I'm sure there's a few traditionalists that want a regular sedan that might be a little bit sad, but I think, this helps to increase the appeal as much as possible. Mechanically, it shares the same platform and motors with the Q6 E-Tron, and it's the same PPE platform that the new Macan EV uses. The base trim here is rear-wheel drive, surprisingly, with a single motor that still does a respectable 362 horsepower and a 5.2 seconds 0 to 60 time. Adding the front motor on the Quattro versions gives you 422 horsepower and a 4.3 seconds 0 to 60 time. And then going up to the S6 takes the power to 496 horsepower normally, 543 horsepower with launch control, and it gives you a 3.7 seconds 0 to 60. That one also gets a more rear bias all-wheel drive system with variable torque distribution, and all of them are going to be using a 100 kilowatt hour battery with 94.4 kilowatt hours of that being usable. And we don't have any EPA estimates yet, but on the easier WLTP test in Europe, it can do up to 447 miles of range. So here I'd expect something in the high 300s, but still very good, especially considering they'll recharge very quickly thanks to their 800 volt system that does a 270 kilowatt peak charge rate and a 10% to 80% charge in just 21 minutes. The optional adaptive air suspension can also lower the vehicle down by nearly a full inch in its efficiency mode to help aerodynamics and range as well. And they'll be going on sale in the US sometime in the spring or summer, Audi says, of 2025. And there's no pricing for those yet. But anyway, very cool to see that. And just glad that it, stuck so close to the concept and, still looks really, really sweet. Pagani has revealed the Roadster version of the Utopia this week, giving you the same great manual transmission and twin-turbo V12 goodness, but just now with no roof, of course. It does come with a removable hardtop and a soft top, so you can still take it out on a rainy day if you want, as long as you don't mind getting out of the vehicle and manually removing those, because there's no power folding top or anything, because of course it's all about being lightweight here for these. And one impressive achievement in regards to the weight here is that the Roadster weighs exactly the same as the Coupe, thanks to a monocoque that they say was redesigned and a variety of lighter materials, including carbo titanium and carbo triax, in addition to good old-fashioned carbon fiber. And I don't even know what carbo triax is, but sounds very impressive, so I'm sure, a very cool material there. Anyway, the 6-liter Mercedes-AMG twin-turbo V12 still does 864 horsepower and 811 pound-feet of torque, and Pagani seems to have an axe to grind with the new Bugatti or just electrified hypercars in general, feeling the need to proclaim that this Utopia Roadster has no heavy batteries, no hybrid system, just the wonderful roar of a V12 engine. Which ironically is funny because the Utopia debuts the most technologically advanced tires, and complicated tires I will add as well, ever on a car. The Pirelli Cyber tire, which is the other big addition here for the Roadster, which has sensors on the inside of the tread that provides the car's driver aids with even more detailed information than what they already get. Again, no one else feels the need for this. I mean, it's a cool advancement, but again, it's weird that Pagani's the first to get it and that it's, again, on a vehicle that is so simple and doesn't have any electrification, all this stuff, but then you're going to have these crazy, complex tires. I don't know. But anyway, lastly, in another interesting switch, they're going to be making more of the Roadsters than the Coupes, doing 130 of these versus 99 of the Coupe, and they'll be priced starting at $3.3 million each. So interesting to see that. And some other Italian car news here. It sounds like despite Stellantis' CEO just last week talking tough about how, if some brands don't make money, they're going to just cut them off and shut them down, it appears that they're backtracking all the way on all those statements. So I don't know if the CEO last week just was a little too riled up or what. But in a joint statement, Maserati and Stellantis flatly said that Stellantis has no intention of selling the Trident brand, just as there's no intention of aggregating Maserati within other Italian luxury groups. They continued by saying Maserati has a bright future and that they're in a transition period, and the successors to the Quattroporte and Levante are in preparation. So that was the main thing. Was last week, it was discovered that Maserati is losing a ton of money right now due to this transition period, but that Maserati could be up for sale. And I think even another Stellantis executive said like they'll evaluate that down the road or something, but it sounds like they're just squashing that completely now. And they also say that they're setting up a series of initiatives to expand its presence in the global market, to strengthen its brand image, and to underline the uniqueness of its products. And so beyond the putting the fire out there at Maserati, Stellantis is going even further, saying it reaffirms its commitment to its entire portfolio of 14 iconic brands and recalls that each of them has a 10-year horizon to build a profitable and sustainable business, while recognizing that market volatility and temporary situations may cause fluctuations. Which is basically a long-winded way of saying, forget everything our CEO said last week, the original plan still holds. And that, I said that last week. I said last week, that they said that all these brands had 10 years, and now all of a sudden they're throwing that out the window. Apparently they were throwing that out the window. So I don't know what to believe. The CEO's, saying all this, scorched earth stuff, and then we're hearing that everything's fine, don't worry about it, we're keeping everything, and keep on playing the music. So, I don't know what to believe here, but I guess we'll go off of what Stellantis says, and if they end up pulling the rug out from under us with selling some brands without any warning or something, we will just have to take that as it comes. But sounds like for now it seems like everything's back to normal. So yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see there with all the Stellantis brands. But speaking of Maserati's future here, they also just teased a sportier looking MC20 that's for drivers who do not wish to sacrifice extraordinary performance on the road, and that from the outset of technical development, a racing evolution was envisaged that would come to life in two directions, with the track version and its road counterpart delivered in close synergy. So most likely it'll be a street legal version of the GT2 racing version of the MC20, and so it'll be revealed here at Pebble Beach on August 16th, so I'll be covering that very soon. And, it should be really cool, and another profit booster here for Maserati, and it sounds like they certainly need it. For the last little bit of Stellantis news here, there's an interesting development here, potentially for the Alfa Romeo Junior. So it was originally called the Milano, it debuted last year, and then had to be renamed the Junior due to a feud with the Italian government, because they didn't want it to be called Milano if it wasn't built in Italy. And so, they decided to, put the Junior name on it instead. So it was a Europe-only little crossover that was offered as an EV and as a hybrid, and they said we wouldn't get either version, and that's the way it goes with most of that stuff in Europe, and so we just shrugged it off. But now it sounds like we might actually have a chance of getting it here in the States, because Automotive News Europe talked with Alfa Romeo's head of product, who told them that we will show the Junior Veloce to our US dealers, asking them if they see potential for a fun-to-drive small electric hatch in select markets such as California, Florida, and other CARB states. And the reason for this change of heart here is that Alfa sees what they say is a window of opportunity that opened due to the tariffs that the U.S. just put on all of the Chinese-built electric vehicles. And so this has caused our version of the Volvo EX30 to get delayed until 2025, till the other plant comes online in Belgium for that. And then also it's delayed, I didn't realize this, the electric Mini Cooper, we won't get that now until 2026 here in the States, because that's also built in China. So they're seeing an opening here with premium small subcompact crossovers that are electric, that now Mini and Volvo all of a sudden don't have anything for a little bit. And so this opens up an opportunity there for Alfa to beat them to the punch, because the Junior is actually built in Poland, so they're good to go. But if they do want to beat, especially Volvo, to the punch, they're going to have to work very quickly, because, again, the Volvo production, I think, is supposed to ramp up sometime in 2025. If I remember correctly, it was maybe middle of 2025 for EX30. So they got basically a year to figure this out and bring it to even match the Volvo as far as launching for that. Maybe they see a market with Mini and Mini buyers with this, potentially more than Volvo. But either way, this is going to have to be a really fast process if they want want to, bring it over. So we'll see what ends up happening here. But I'm guessing they'll ask those dealers, hey, do you want a tiny little electric lifted hot hatch essentially from Alfa? And the dealers will say, we want the hybrid version. And then Alfa will say, no, we're only offering the electric version, because that's where they see this key window of opportunities, especially with that EV version. So I'm guessing dealers are going to want hybrid. Alfa will say we want to send the electric, and it probably won't get brought over here anyway, so I wouldn't hold your breath. It's also about 14 inches shorter than the Tonale, which, Tonale is livable for sure, but it's not large by any means. So hacking 14 more inches off of a Tonale probably will be a tough sell for Americans. It'll also be a tough sell because whenever the EPA does test it, if they end up testing it, it'll end up doing most likely less than 200 miles of range. Also a really tough sell, unless you price it really cheaply, but... I'm pretty sure the Volvo and the Mini, I think the Mini is similar, but Volvo, I think, was supposed to have more range than that. So, I don't know. We'll see. But if you happen to really want this and you live in a CARB state, or can buy a CARB vehicle and register it in your state still, there might be a way to get one of these. We will see. So, I'd be cautiously optimistic. Don't get your hopes up too much, but you may be in luck with this little Alfa Romeo Junior. So, anyway, interesting to see that. And there was big news in Japan this week where Nissan, Honda, and Mitsubishi announced a joint partnership for sharing batteries, motors, and inverters for their EVs and work together on research for autonomous driving software. So Nissan and Honda announced a tentative agreement back in March, but this kind of cements it all and also adds in Mitsubishi, who wanted in on the party. And Honda CEO said, companies that don't adapt to the changes cannot survive, and that if we try to do everything on our own, we cannot catch up. And Nissan CEO added, speed is the most crucial element considering our size. And both him and Honda CEO admitted that BYD is just moving really fast, but they still believe there's time for them to catch up and remain in the game. So that is why they're really feeling the heat from China, and so that's why they are pulling out all the stops, and companies that used to, be strong competitors are now all, putting aside their differences and, teaming up on this stuff. So Nissan CEO lastly added that in coming together, we will show that 1 + 1 will add up to become more than 2. And Nissan and Honda also said that they've agreed to have model lineups that mutually complement each other, both for EVs and for their gas-powered vehicles. So I'm not sure what that means. Because, again, they're going to be sharing a lot of the components for their EVs, and that makes sense because there's not a whole lot of differentiation there anyway, so it's not a big deal to share that stuff, in my opinion. Then you have your unique styling to go on top of the skateboard, and it's whatever. But, to also say that they're going to, tailor their gas offerings to complement each other makes me think... that, I don't know, maybe some stuff will get cut or some stuff will get added. I don't know what that means, and it sounds like they don't have a full idea either yet, because they say that they're still working out all the details of that in particular. But it really sounds like they want to work together and not really directly compete anymore, I think. Maybe have unique niches like, Nissan's got the sports cars. Maybe Honda means they won't have a sports car now, or they'll do an electric one while Nissan does a gas one. Just try and find ways to, not compete, but still offer different things. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But yeah, so it now appears like the main Japanese car companies have split to two sides. You have, on one side, Honda, Nissan, and Mitsubishi. And on the other side, we have Toyota, Subaru, and Mazda that have partnered up. And I just talked about that, a couple of months ago here with, Toyota and Subaru already working together on EVs and other stuff like we've seen with the, Toyobaru twins and stuff over the past decade. But, just this past couple of months, the three companies debuted new gas engines that have their unique stuff with, Mazda showing off a new rotary, Subaru a new Boxer, and Toyota with an inline four that are all going to power their hybrids and plug-in hybrids going forward, but share the electrical components of those, I believe, but, have it hooked up to their own unique engines. So it'd be interesting to see just how this all plays out with all these companies. Just so many shifts. The whole car industry, this whole electric transformation is really shaking everything up in so many ways, and it'd be really interesting to see how this all plays out. And hopefully they can all compete well with BYD and BYD doesn't just demolish the entire uniqueness of the auto industry. We'll see, but happy to see the teamwork there. And for the last news story here, the Volkswagen Group seems to still be struggling with software issues, and while it seems like the kinks have been worked out for the current MEB platform and hopefully for the PPE platform, now that they've allowed these new Audis and the Porsche Macan EV to come to market here. But the platform that's supposed to succeed the MEB platform, called SSP, has also been having issues, supposedly. And this is something we've seen, not even supposedly, but confirmed, because we've seen the launch of a bunch of vehicles been pushed back and delayed, and the CEOs even officially commented on that a little bit. But the original goal was for this platform to arrive this year, but last year they already gave up on that and delayed it to 2026. And now, according to a German publication, Manager Magazine, it seems like the platform now won't arrive until 2027 or 2028, and it'll show up first in an Audi. And that same publication, along with another German publication, Handelsblatt, said that coding problems mean that the new electric Golf and the next-gen ID.4 won't arrive until 2029 now at the earliest. And Porsche's first SSP vehicle, a 3-row SUV that was supposed to arrive in 2027, now might come after, if Audi's going to get this thing first in 2027 or 2028. So, a couple silver linings here. The first is that if you're a fan of like the current Golf and GTI and Golf R, there was an expectation here that we would have this refresh here coming for 2025, and then that would last a few years, and then around 2027 or 2028 is when you would see that go away and be replaced by an electric one. Now it sounds like that might be 2029, maybe even later. We'll see. So I think that gives the gas-powered GTI and Golf R a little more time to live on. Again, doesn't mean that it's going to stick around forever, but if you are someone clinging on to those final gas-powered years, I think you've bought yourself probably a couple more years here with these issues. And it also means that Volkswagen's not going to be the only one that's pushing back stuff, because a lot of these other, especially German competitors, are delaying their own stuff voluntarily just because they don't think they can sell or sell in quantities that make them happy, apparently. So, we've already heard about all the brands I've been covering over the past few months here delaying a lot of their EVs. And so, this means that Volkswagen probably won't be missing out on the EV party too much. I do think that, these slowdowns are temporary in sales, and we will see sales start to pick up. I think even, into next year and stuff will pick up nicely, but, at least everyone else is going to be kind of caught with not a whole lot of fresh products as well for the next few years. So I think that it's going to work out for Volkswagen most likely. It's a very fortuitous kind of timing with these issues that they're having, but definitely still is troublesome and worrisome to hear that Volkswagen still can't figure out coding stuff. Like, I don't understand. They have such deep pockets. Hire the best coder in the world. Pay them $30 million a year to just sort out your coding stuff. So you can get your products, your only products out in time, in a timely fashion. Like, surely they can justify paying someone and pulling a coder from, I don't know, whoever is the best coder in the world, and from Apple or, Microsoft, whoever, I don't know, to do coding. Like, I don't know why this is still so elusive to Volkswagen. It's kind of mind-blowing, especially considering most other companies, while they might have glitches, they don't have these complete failures where they can't launch cars, until years after they originally planned to. It's just kind of crazy. Also, they are going to be doing a refresh for the MEB platform, I think called MEB Plus, so that'll also give a little bit of life to some of these Volkswagen electric vehicles here around 2026 or so to freshen them up a little bit. But, it'll be interesting to see, with them struggling and a lot of the Japanese companies coming online in 2026 with a bunch of their impressive EVs supposedly and stuff. I think it might be tough for the German EV companies. We'll have to see. But anyway, interesting to see that. And lastly, I want to thank all of you that are members of the Maran Motoring Club. So we didn't have any new members join this past week, but we did have a bunch of people who were able to rejoin thanks to the very generous gifting done by Kyle during last week's live stream. So huge thanks to you, Kyle, for your continued generosity and allowing so many people to continue to be members here thanks to your gifts. And so huge thanks once again to you. And for anyone else that would also like to continue to be a member or stay a member and support the channel on their own, there's always join buttons here on the video page, on the channel page, and a link in the description. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts and all this stuff in the comments below. Please leave a like and subscribe to keep these videos coming, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.